Hey, and welcome to Slick Willy Flying. Today what we're gonna do is this. I did a little challenge where I gave my daughter the option to select 3 materials. I told her something had to be some form of a dubbing, something had to be some form of a tail. She can do fur, feathers, whatever. So she selected these materials and we created this fly, which I think we're gonna call the Groovy Bunny because of the Zonker tail. So materials, what ended up on my plate? Obviously a bit of Zonker, 3mm. This is barred. She chose fin Racoon and tan, and she chose somewhere here. I have a piece of polar chenille orange, and then I begged for silly legs, which she allowed me to have, and bead chain eyes we agreed on. So then the last piece of the puzzle was she had to give me a target species, and for target species she gave me Everglades redfish. Alright, so this is the fly that we came up with, so let's change the camera angle and let's tie this up. Okay, so for the hook I'm using a Mustad 34007 in size 2. We didn't really discuss the hook because, I don't know, just forgot to do that. So while I'm getting my hook ready, it's a good chance for you to get that like and subscribe. Go ahead and hit that and let's get going here. For thread I'm using 140 denier orange ultra. And for eyes I'm going to use medium size bead chain eyes, which I have right here. And excuse my little cough, I don't know what's going on, but I got a little cough right now out of nowhere. And I'm going to use my wire cutters to just clip off a little bit of one section of bead chain eyes. Oh, one thing I didn't get ready for this fly that I didn't do on the previous one, I guess I could skip it again, is a weed guard. I didn't get my weed guard ready. So, placement of the eyes, I've been liking, let me trim that up, that little tag right there. See it right there, that little tag? Sometimes that doesn't look so good. And I feel like sometimes it could snag my line. So placement is about one length of bead chain, as you saw right there. I don't usually measure that out because I kind of know what it should look like. Now I'm just going to do, I don't know, 5, 10, 20 diagonal wraps here till I like the way it feels. And once I do, then I do these figure 8s where I go over the hook, under the bead chain, over the hook, under the bead chain. And what that does is it cinches tight those original wraps. Now, I normally put a little bit of super glue on this, but I'm not going to because I am going to use UV resin. So now, the bunny, the rabbit zonker. You have to think about your tail length. I'd rather leave it a hair long right now, just because I can always trim the other side. But what I do want to do is I want to use all this leather, but I want to get rid of that bit of fur. So I know where I'm going to go through the leather, right there. So I have that point marked. So everything on the opposite side of that point I can trim off right away. So all this fur can go. Perfect. And because of the bead chain, you have to remember that this fly is going to ride hook side up, so the bunny needs to be attached with the fur facing down. And what I actually want to do, I get my thread out of the way, I'm going to pop this out of the vise and I'm going to punch it through in the exact spot where I had made that mark, carefully without stabbing myself. which sometimes does happen. Good to have a little first aid kit around. Just like that. Perfect. So now I have my rabbit on the hook, and I could put my hook back in the vise. I'm sorry if that was out of the frame, but you know, I really wanted to do that without stabbing myself. Alright, so now I'm going to put this rabbit right up against the bottom of the hook, and I'm going to, as perfectly as I can, capture that nice and centered, taking my time to make sure that it's sitting where I want it to sit. Just like that. And that, my friends, really traps that zonker. That zonker is now bulletproof. That isn't going anywhere. I recognize that that takes a little bit of effort to do, but that zonker is going to stay attached to that hook and in the orientation that we like. So the next step, fin raccoon. You don't need a lot. Small clump will do here, because we're not going to use a lot of it at all. That's plenty. The only thing I'm using the fin raccoon for here is to give a little bit of somewhere for the polar chenille to butt up against. So I really don't want this long. I would say that is definitely long enough right there. But I'm going to also use it to make a little bit of a body. So I'm going to trim it so that the butt ends are going to be very close to the eyes, the dumbbell eyes. Now I also want to do this in the correct orientation. So I have my length. Now a couple of loose wraps, just to make sure that I like where it is. I'm going to distribute with my needle, so I don't need to get crazy about that it's all on one side of the hook. And now I just lock that nice and tight. Now at this point, you could put crystal flash, or you could put a million different things on the hook at this point. But my daughter didn't give me those materials, so I don't have anything like that. What I do have is polar chenille, which is great, because the polar chenille is going to give me the flash, so it's no problem. So I have a piece of polar chenille, and I have more. I'm just using up a piece here, and hopefully this will be enough. And then if it's not, I'll get a little more. So I am going to try and wrap every single wrap. I'm going to try and stroke everything back. Just makes life easier if I do that. See that little bit of fin raccoon? That's gonna keep this polar chenille fluffed up and looking nice and thick. I normally don't wrap the polar chenille too thick, but since I have not a lot of materials here, I'm gonna probably wrap this on there pretty thick. I'm gonna use it all up. While I'm doing this, I want to remind everyone, Slick Willie is on Instagram. So look me up on Instagram, and you know, you'll find some more pictures and some more links to some more stuff. You'll see some just general knowledge stuff mostly. It's just another fun thing to do. I'm starting to use it to do all my contests, help the Instagram channel grow a little. Now I'm not going to go past the dumbbell eyes. I'm just trying to get all this as much as I can. Give it some body here. And I guess that's about as far as I'm gonna get to go. Maybe I'll try to shove one more in there. Alright. So now I'm gonna go ahead and capture the polar chenille. Front and back. And now I can trim this off. Alright. So the last material that I'm allowed to use is rubber legs, silly legs, and she chose orange with gold flakes, which is fine. And it's right here, one strand. So I'm just going to go ahead and tie this on right on top, right between the eyes. And we can trim this after if we feel like we need to. So that is perfect, super simple. So now it's a whip finish and a little UV resin, and this fly is done. And this fly, the Groovy Bunny, this fly will definitely catch fish, no question about it. Redfish will definitely eat this fly, as well as a lot of other inshore species. I have no doubt that this little fly right here is gonna be a fan favorite for us. There's nothing wrong with this fly at all. Alright, so now I'm just going to get everything out of the way. I guess it's better if I do it this way. And I'm going to get my UV resin out. I'm going to use this little hair clamp, I think. It's important that you keep everything the way you want it to be when you're using resin. You're not in any hurry with the resin. But once you zap it, once you hit it with that lamp, that's it, it's not moving. So that little light right there, that little girl's hair clamp, that's a nice little tool. Tiny drop of resin on each side. And now I'm just gonna spin this up a little. That looks really good. You know, when you spin it, you just make it look very even and slick and shiny, and it just looks a little bit more professional. And now when I zap it, that's it. Nothing's gonna move. And this fly suddenly became bulletproof. Move the clamp. And like I said, now nothing's going to move and everything is right where I want it. The only thing left to do is consider the length of the legs and decide if we want to trim them up or not. Oh, I'm going to trim a little bit of this polar chenille off the bottom. I often trim material off the bottom of the fly because it helps the fly swim in the correct orientation if we don't have too much material on the bottom. So I'm going to take care of that. I'm going to try and do it in the vise. So I'm going to try and spread out some of this chenille. I don't want to take too much. Then I'll come in here with some scissors and I'm just going to take right down the center. That's really the only thing I want to take. Just right down the center so that this fly will swim the way it's supposed to swim. Alright, so we're back. So I have a couple decisions to make here. These legs look a little bit long. I think I'm gonna trim them up I'd say that that's probably a good length right there. Remember, when you trim rubber legs, you don't want to stretch them because then they end up shorter than what you thought they were going to be. You just want to hold them straight. And I think that length is working. I cut them together often so that they are the same length. Now, the tail might have come out longer than what I usually like. I'm going to put this in a little hackle holder here and try to determine whether I want to cut this tail or not. Oh, it's hard to say. You know, I hate short strikes, but at the same time, it's nice to have that little tail. I think I'm going to leave it. If it starts to become a problem when I'm fishing, if it starts to foul or something, I can always trim it when I'm fishing. So I think I'm going to leave it for now. If I was going to cut the tail, what you have to do is you have to cut just the skin. So you peel up all your fur, just like that. We'll cut off a tiny section. You peel up your fur. You don't peel off your fur. You just get it out of the way, exposing just the skin, and then you trim just the skin. And what that does is it leaves you with that good pointy finish, just like that. Alright, so this fly is going to swim hook side up, just like here. And the fur will ride up. And I'm going to put this in my windowsill and cure it up good. I'll probably run this in some warm water, which will get the twists out of this tail. It's a shame that they package them like this, because they come all twisted up when you unwrap them. But a little warm water, and you just let them, hang them and let them dry, and that takes it right out. They'll look great. So thank you for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe. And hope you're having a cocktail with me. And see you on the next video. Good luck catching.